Hello folks, happy Sunday. Have you had a lie-in this morning? Or were you perhaps up with the lark? I wonder if you're listening to your body and able to meet its needs at this time. Lots of conflicting needs, I imagine. People wanting to have a rest, people wanting, you might have children who are like, get up, I want to play, it's sunny, I want to go outside. Maybe you've got work to do today as well. So go easy, be compassionate with yourselves and just do your best. So I've had a really great start to the day today. I've done my daily meditation. I've been for a lovely run in the sunshine. It's such a gorgeous day today. Don't go out sunbathing, it's not allowed. And yeah, cold shower, healthy breakfast, and looking forward to having a chat with Mike Richard, who is the founder of Talk About It Mate, offering mental health peer support. So he'll be coming into the studio very shortly. I'm especially excited today because my children are heading my way, having been in quarantine for the last 2 weeks. I haven't actually seen them for 3 weeks. They've been at their mum's house throughout that time. So I haven't touched anyone for 3 weeks. So they're getting some hugs today, a lot of hugs. Looking forward to seeing them. So keep sharing the group, please. Where's my link? There it is. Yeah. Beep, beep, beep. As I said yesterday, if we all invite 5 to 10 people in that we think would be beneficial, who would benefit from what we're offering here, this kind of holistic mental health, physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, navigating the coronavirus crisis, how do we do homeworking, how do we look after our children, how do we look after our mental health, all the way through this and beyond. Get them in here, 5 to 10 people each. We'd have over 1,000 people in this thriving hive. So do please keep sharing that link. And without further ado, we will invite Mike into the studio. Mike, hello.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm well. I know that you've got a bit of connection issues with your video stream, so if it does get a bit bad, we might just switch your video off and switch to audio. But if people are watching, if you can just let us know if you can't hear Mike or if it's breaking up in the comments, you might just switch to audio or find an alternative way. So how are you today, Mike?
Yeah, I'm great. I'd like to say that I've been out for a run and done my morning meditation, but I'm a little bit hungover, to be honest, Paul.
Well, it was Saturday night last night, and you know, I'm all for having something at the weekend to celebrate, doing something a bit different. So yeah, you had a bit of fun last night.
As much as I can on a Saturday night, stuck at home. Yeah, I had a few beers, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, not out on the town at 42nd Street. That's off the agenda at the moment.
It would never be the same. You can't recreate that, can you?
Aye. So, Mike, you do you facilitate mental health peer support groups. So before we kind of get into talking about your journey to get there and what you do in them, can you just kind of give people a brief overview of what they are? What are peer support groups for mental health?
I think peer support is just people helping each other rather than there being like one person who's in charge, I suppose. So people using shared experiences to help each other make sense of what's going on in their lives, and that can be adapted for different audiences. And there's a lot of successful peer support groups out there. Yeah.
So I know I went along to a few peer support groups myself last year to kind of get an idea of the structure of the different ones that are out there, like women. Before I started running my own, I've got a men's peer support group, as you're aware, called Man Tuesday that I facilitate with a friend of mine. And yeah, I think they're wonderful things. And so, you know, credit to you for spending so much time and energy investing in this and supporting people in this way. It's an important work that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's it's worth it though, because I think you can connect with people on a very normal level. Like, I think for me, when things become too structured or too professional, it puts me off a little bit. It's very, very natural and organic. Not to say we don't do other things we talk about it, mate, and I'll tell you later about what I'm studying to do. But it's a middle ground where I think that you can reach through to a lot of people. So, for example, I might not be the person who inspires somebody to open up about their mental health, but then the guy in the next chair would be the guy, because he might have a lot in common with that guy. And by bringing a large number of people together, we can use our similarities, but also appreciate our differences. But in that, we're all in it together. We're all working in the right direction. And often people don't want to discuss things with close friends or family members, because I know, because I've done it myself, family members or close friends will want to rescue a person or just simply provide them with advice or guidance out of the goodness of their heart, when really, in my situation and some of the people I know, people just want to be seen and be heard, be listened to, and that's really part of the battle, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a very unifying experience just to have a non-judgmental space. We're all different. We've all had different unique experiences, but I think the challenges we face as human beings are all very similar. And hearing someone else talk about their issues, their challenges, can resonate, and so many other people in the room can think, actually, yeah, that's very similar to what's going on for me, and that way builds connection, I feel.
Yeah, that's really it. And in the times we're living in now, with moving everything online, that only opens it up to potentially a wider audience, and that's why you're doing what you're doing. And we also have a group on Facebook and other things. We can just reach out to more people.
Yeah, that's right. Great. So, as well as being a facilitator of these peer support groups, you are also training to be a counsellor, and are you an teacher now, or would you say you kind of still got a finger in that pie?
Yeah, I've tried so hard, but I am still technically a primary school teacher. And now I work for an agency for supply, so I'm technically furloughed at the moment. But whether that means anything at the moment, I don't know. But technically, I'm not even earning at the moment. But that's another issue entirely.
Yes, me too. But hey, okay. So maybe it would be useful for folk to just get a kind of handle on you as a person and what has brought you to doing what you're doing now. And as I was saying to my guest yesterday in the Thrive Hive, quite a lot of people who are supporting others through their passion, through their work, either through healing or support groups like the ones that you run, are kind of wounded healers, maybe. So quite a lot of us have had some difficult experiences. If you want to share kind of your journey to becoming what you are and who you are today.
Yeah. I think I do use my own experiences to have created what I've created, because it's very real to me. I'm the kind of person where if I, what would I like to have? Like, I thought there were a lot of groups out there for, say, support that I just thought, I might not fit in there. Like I use Meetup for a lot of my events, and for example, socially awkward. Like, I don't consider myself socially awkward, but I do also have my own needs. So I thought I'd create something that I would have wanted when I was suffering. So to go back to the beginning, I suppose, I had a very good childhood, but my parents divorced, so things didn't seem right from about the age of about 7, and then the divorce when I was about 10. And so now I know, having done therapy and a lot of things, that's where the root of my problems started. And it was this inner thoughts that I wasn't good enough, or it was my fault that happened, and I wasn't wanted, and I felt very isolated and lonely, especially in my teenage years. And things really gripped me, and I went through school. I was at the beginning of high school, I was bullied. I was quite overweight, and I was, I had a certain amount of confidence, but it was like fake confidence, just to get by in school, really, and play the game. So eventually, I realised probably in my later teens that I wasn't doing so well, and I think I went to uni when I was 18, and I dropped out quite quick, and it just, everything hit me, and I wasn't right, and then I got diagnosed with depression when I was 18. But it's not like now. I know people say that the mental health services still aren't up to scratch in some areas because of underfunding. But if back then, what we're talking 2004, I couldn't really tell anybody that I'd been diagnosed with depression, because like where I'm from or the people in my network, it's just not something that would have been talked about. And even it wasn't like an embarrassment, but it wasn't something that there was enough knowledge of at that time. I even put it on I went to an interview for a job, and then I had to admit it. I didn't get the job, and this is a long, long time ago. So already in my head, that having, I didn't even, the term mental health never even came into my vocabulary at that time. Just I was on some medication for depression for about a year, and it was just like just something just didn't feel right in me, and it was I wouldn't want to talk to people about it. So I was getting the medication, but I wasn't getting any talk therapy at the same time. So I never got to the root cause of why I was feeling like that. Eventually, what happened then, I'd say right through 18 to about 30, so 12 years, is just a cycle then of improvements in relapses, because I identified that as I got into my 20s, yes, I did have a mental health problem, and I would say take medication, do that for a year, then I'd do lots of exercise, or I'd replace it with something else. But it never ever really addressed this really deep-seated low self-esteem, depression. And as I got into my late 20s, it was anxiety. And for me, anxiety for me personally is worse, because it's like it's constant and it's gripping, and it's always like feeding into a lot of your thought processes. And I started teaching and set up my career. I'd moved jobs. I ended up living in Spain, and then I lived in Italy for 2 years. But I think especially when I was abroad, I was very isolated, and then I was very, the anxiety really, really got to me, and it really like had a serious effect on me. So at the end of my 20s, I moved back to London, and I was in a relationship at the time, and that ended because I had a mental breakdown. And now I can tell you about it. It was clearly coming. I'm just very glad that it happened when I was living in the UK. And luckily for me, my best friend, he's a doctor, and so him and his wife helped me out, and I lived with them, and so I left a long-term relationship, and then I actually had to leave my job as a teacher in London. After going through the whole process of being signed off work, which can be very, very tough for a person if you have to leave work because of mental health issues. And there definitely is a stigma about that. And things are getting better. But so basically, it was a mess. And I think when I hit my 30th birthday, I thought I have to change something in my life. And the last 3-4 years have been a real restorative process, taking things right back to the beginning. And I think that this process has been successful, because here I am with Talk About It, Mate, and actually depression and anxiety are just a part of something else. So I was diagnosed with ADHD, and that does explain a lot of my the ways that I think and the things that I do. So, it's a self-awareness journey, and that's what I've learned about myself. And through all of those things, I use all those parts of the process to do this, because I know what it's like to have a breakdown. I know what it's like to have panic attacks. I know what it's like to have been through those things, and they are not nice. And I don't want other people to have to experience those things. I'm not God. I can't stop everything from happening. But what I can do is provide early intervention, peer support, and I can signpost people, and that is what I can do, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Mike. And yeah, it's a touching story. You experienced a lot of childhood difficulties, and then the isolation, the bullying at school, not feeling right at university, going through depression, going through anxiety, having the breakdown. But as you say, you've built a toolbox, you've built awareness of your condition, and through counselling and other interventions, you've been able to match your own mental health and bring all of that knowledge and experience to offer something positive to people who are going through potentially similar things.
That's it, really. I think I need to state that we shouldn't have to get to the crisis point before we get support. I was in a bad way. If it wasn't for my friend, I would have been admitted to hospital. And, thank God I didn't, because, that could be a really scary experience. And I just think there's nothing wrong with talking about your feelings, so you don't get to a point where you explode and put yourself and other people in danger. I'm going to backtrack on that, because you rarely put other people in danger. That's very extreme, but it can damage relationships in your life if you're not addressing it. So, unfortunately, I've got some friends who won't speak to me now. And I did, the things that I did weren't terrible things. Just they couldn't handle the fact that I couldn't get my situation under control, and it caused a breakup of certain relationships in my life. And I do regret that, but also I've done a lot of work since then to understand why those things happen. But I'm glad that now I can provide early intervention to other people, because I didn't get that myself, and I would have really benefited from that.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Mike. And, we all do what we can at the time with the knowledge and the skills and the tools that we have. So, yeah, it's very easy to beat ourselves up for what's happened in the past, what we've done, friendships that might have drifted away, words spoken, actions done. But maybe we can look back on that with compassion and say, well, I just didn't have the awareness. I didn't have the tools back then. But what you have done, like you say, is work on yourself and build your awareness, and be able to, I suppose, move forward with more insight and be able to support others. Like you say, get in there early, rather than waiting until people reach crisis point.
That's it.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So, slight aside, do you know who Floella Benjamin is?
Was she on TV? The name rings a bell.
Yeah, it's perhaps before your time. She was on children's TV in probably the early 80s, I'm guessing. So I pretty much grew up with her on Play School and various other programs. And I have some of her words of wisdom up on my wall, which I think you've seen, actually. It's the 3 C's to practice consideration, contentment, and confidence every day. So I've had that up on my wall as an aid memoir for myself and for my children for several years. And you have your own version of the 3 C's with Talk About It, mate. Do you explain what those are?
Yeah, I think they're on my thing behind me. Courage, compassion, and connection. So to pick up from the story that I told you before, as I started to make positive changes in my life, I think these are the 3 things that came through my journey. And so now that it mirrors my journey, and it informs me and guides me in everything that I do with Talk About It, mate. So I did put this on my website, but it's courage is the first step. Okay, so you won't be able to change anything. If something's not right or you're not happy about it, it won't get better without making a change. Action, some kind of action will have to be taken, and that takes courage, because it means doing something differently. And it could be the really, really small step, but once you've done you can build on that. It's like starting a new routine or doing anything in your life. If it was physical fitness, you'd be going and doing a run, or some people do couch to 5K, for example. Well, you could, with your mental health, you could watch a webinar, or you could watch something like this, or you could attend a group, or you could do a daily check-in on a group. So courage is doing something new, because people think, oh, I'm going to be embarrassed that people will laugh at me, or that's the courage part. So once I got past that part, nobody laughed at me, and then I started to lose weight off, or so. I started to get places with therapy. All these things. Every single step along that way took courage, and still does. Doing this, you're doing it yourself. Then compassion, and I think compassion. People just consider compassion is that something you project outwards. But for me, how could I project compassion outwards to others if I didn't do it to myself? So all those years of having a really low opinion of myself, being incredibly hard on myself, it was almost a form of self-abuse, self-sabotage. And as soon as I started to address that, I showed compassion to myself. That, like you mentioned, it was okay that I didn't know how to deal with it at that time. At the end of the day, and I was like, nobody died, right? Nobody died, nobody got hurt. And I struggled with certain aspects of my life, and I'm not struggling with them now, because I've shown myself compassion. And as that's kind of become internalized, and I've started to believe that, I've projected it outwards through my actions, and the actions that I do through talk about it, mate. And then the final part, and this is where you really get the good feeling from it, in my opinion, is connection. So because you've shown courage, and because you compassionately project it outwards, the connections that you make and the people that you meet are really, really valuable, and you really get a lot of gold from that, I find, because you're operating at a higher level, a higher version of yourself, because you've been honest, and you've been authentic, and you've been organic. And I'm quite a spontaneous person, and now I know dozens and dozens of people that are just really good contacts. And luckily for me, I've documented it all on the podcast of which you've appeared on, and I can look back on that for posterity. But also now, creating networks of people who can chat and interact with each other, and then creating talk support groups and peer support groups. That they're all examples of connection, and the right kinds of connections can change your life.
Yeah, it's really good. I like the 3 C's. I like Floella Benjamin's 3 C's, and basically the ones that she's got are 2 out of 3 the same as yours, I think, because consideration is linked to compassion. Confidence is pretty much the same as courage, and she's got contentment, being happy with your lots rather than compassion. But I'm all over rather than connection. I'm all over all of the 3 C's, and it is really wonderful what you said there about being authentic, just being yourself, being able to connect with people on that higher level, and you embody that. You are such an authentic everyman. You bring yourself, you make yourself vulnerable, and that really invites others to do the same. So in the groups that you facilitate, the feeling I get from visiting your group and from the group that I facilitate is, if we can lead by example and say, this is me, what's more, it's an invitation then to others to do the same. And when they do that, it can feel really liberating. Do you get a sense of that yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, how could I sit there and create an environment for people to open up if I haven't done so myself? Like, this is peer support and counselling are two very, very different things. Like, peer support is much more accessible for a larger number of people, and that's why I spend a lot of my time doing that. The counselling side of things, for me, for example, trained to be a counsellor, that's at the moment, that's for me. That's my own professional. I'll integrate that into what I do once I've got to a certain level of training. But yeah, I wouldn't expect anything from the guys in the group that I hadn't done myself. And I'm very open. The toolbox came from a blog that I did. Again, was about 51, about 3 years ago, and I'd had some counselling, and I wanted to process all the things that I kind of mentioned to you already. And I put this in this really long, mammoth long blog, and I just put it out there on Facebook, or from my Facebook. And I turned off my phone, and I was petrified. I went to like a school fair. I was working at the time. I turned off my phone for 4 hours because I was so scared. This was like, I've bared my soul, like, for people, everyone. Like, this is, a lot of things about me in that blog that people never knew. Because my Steve Chappie was quite confident. It was like a real truth bomb. And I turned my phone back on, and I had dozens and dozens of messages. And like, I was so scared, but it was so positive. And then I had people reach out to me who I hadn't spoken to for years. And then someone suggested, oh, you could make something of this. You could get some people together who identify, two friends of friends, or people I hadn't spoken to for 10 years had reached out to me, and I'd met them, and then me telling them about things, and then meeting my body help them through their experiences. Then starting a group was the next step, and I was having a coaching thing anyway, and I thought I'd make it part of what I was doing.
Yeah, that's a wonderful little anecdote there, Mike. And yeah, I've had similar experiences myself of putting myself out there. And, just 3 weeks ago, I was in a pretty dark place with coronavirus, anxiety, other stuff that was going on in my personal life. And yeah, I felt like I was in a hole and just spiraling downwards. So I put it out there on Facebook and got so much support back. And it comes back again to that authenticity, vulnerability, and early intervention. So rather than kind of shrinking into yourself, which is a very natural and human thing to do, I think, when people are feeling depressed or anxious or fearful, putting it out there, just speaking honestly and openly about how you're really feeling, and taking that mask off. Like you were saying, the mic, oh yeah, it's happy Mike, he's fine. And people had no idea how you were feeling, but just putting it out there builds that connection. It builds a compassion. It builds a courage and resilience for yourself as well, and invites other people to see the real you, which I think is what peer support is. It's like the foundation of the peer support network, I would guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think, and I'm coming at this from a male perspective. I was always a sensitive child, or could show emotion, either anger or get upset. And I thought these things were very wrong. And I learned that vulnerability was something I didn't like about myself. It's actually a big strength. I had this vulnerability and sensitivity all the way through. I never realised that about myself, so I had to reclassify that. And the blog that I mentioned before was called Strength Through Vulnerability, and that's it, isn't it? Like, part of the courage part of it, you've been vulnerable, and you probably in your life, if you've been vulnerable in a situation where it hasn't been well received, that's sending a message back to you saying that being vulnerable is not okay. But like you just mentioned, if you're vulnerable in the right environment, it can be could be a catalyst for major change in your life, and that's what we're providing a place for that to happen.
Yeah, and the environment is a key factor. The peer support groups that we facilitate, and the Thrive Hive as well, is a safe environment, and it's non-judgmental. It's where people can come along, be themselves, talk about whatever they want to bring, mental health issues, past stuff, anything at all. If you've got that safe container, it's very similar to counselling, and you need to feel safe in order to make yourself vulnerable. And when people can do that, it's really empowering, I find.
Yeah, otherwise you can't make that positive change if you're worried too much about the environment not meeting your needs. And I think this is something I learned when I was doing this, when I was learning about this ADHD thing, which I'm not going to lie, I haven't really spent a lot of time learning about. But I think Einstein said something like, you can't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. And we all have different like yardsticks, and we're different. Don't judge people on the same scales. Everybody's different, and I don't know where I'm going with this, but it always comes to mind that we have a social mask, and we all act a certain way that we think that we have to act. But for some people, that's completely away from the person who they really are. That's what happened to me, and we're all trying to fit in, and I am massively guilty of being a people pleaser. So everybody saw me as this cheeky chappy who was like to have a laugh, and I'm not saying I don't, but now I'm probably less like that, but more because I'm more introspective, but I'm more myself.
More authentic, yeah. I missed what you said about Einstein. You broke up a little. Could you say that again, Mike?
Sorry, what was that?
About Einstein. Do you have a quote about Einstein?
It's like, you can't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
Yes, very good. Yeah, that applies to teaching as well. I know that from the teaching context around how, children are judged on their academic ability in maths and English and science, and all the stuff around creativity and how to be an authentic human being, emotional resilience, art, music, sport doesn't really come into how they're assessed. So that kind of brings us nicely on to the topic of children. And I wonder if you've got any tips about how children can maintain connection and manage their anxiety during this lockdown and coronavirus crisis.
I think it lies first in the parents and what they're providing for the children to do that. But I think if the parents, are well connected, they can use the apps that people are using now. Kids can use the house party or something like that. I've been reading about to actually physically have FaceTime with their own friends, which is so that's important that they still see their peers. But also, I think it's quite nice that the connections that they could have with friends and family, Skype or FaceTime, that they're more invested in that, because I think they're not just off doing something else. Like it could be because they don't get to see people in the flesh. Seeing them on a webcam can be quite special. Like it could be made into a family event. Some people are doing like games over a webcam, or challenges as a family, or it's making people be creative with how they connect with each other. So it's making people realize, they miss their friends and family because they can't see them, and they're taking more effort to facilitate and create that. But yeah, I know teaching can be done online and it can be directed, but I think in terms of education, I don't think that parents should be trying to replicate the school day. I think really, I don't know. I am a primary school teacher, but I'm not a parent. But I don't really think they need to be doing more than two hours a day anyway, 2-3 hours a day, and do that in the mornings. And then they think the best part of this, and it's summer term anyway, but it's got to be summer term after Easter break. They can be working on projects and fun things, because really in summer term, unless they're having, they've done the SATs or whatever, like a lot of the stuff in school is more relaxed in many ways anyway. And I think that kids could learn a lot from just working on little projects at home and home-based learning, being in the garden. And, I think it's great that you're seeing your kids finally, Paul. I've had a big smile when you said that. Like, just, interactions between parents and children, and there's so much you can do. Like, I'm an only child. So as a kid, my mum and dad would give me things to do, and I'd be working away in my room for hours on things. And I'd be all right, I think, because that's the kind of kid that I was. But yeah, maybe not just playing on tablets all day, giving them direct learning challenges. But I think everyone has to be creative. And in terms of managing anxiety, this is something that I'm hoping to do next year. We've talked about it, mate. Anyway, is get into school. just scanning, and this is adults and children, scanning your feelings. So how are you feeling? I am feeling because of this, and that's self-awareness, isn't it? Like, you don't have to always do something about it. Just admitting how you're feeling and saying why you feel that way is really, really valuable. But variation is massive. So kids, I need variation with my being neurodiverse. I'm like a kid. I have really short attention span, so I'll need to do lots of activities and burn energy. So they could do some activities on the computer and they could do a workout. Not his biggest fan, but go on the Joe Wicks thing, do that. Like, keep themselves busy all the time. Just keep doing lots of different things to burn their energy. But I think it'd be. I mean, I'm half considering if I have kids in the future, maybe homeschooling them myself. But I also think that it's important for children to be with their peers personally.
Yeah, and this situation is showing us how valuable that connection is, and some great tips there, Matt. Thanks for staying connected with family and also friends. Using technology, using creativity, having fun, doing projects, stuff like that. And as regards any emotions that are coming up, anxiety or whatever else that's coming up, acknowledging it, naming it, talking about it, mate. And it's all good tips. Very good, thank you. So we've touched a little bit on counselling. Is there anything more that you want to talk about as regards what you personally have got out of counselling and why you are training to become a counsellor now?
Yeah, I think for me, counselling, it just helped me to get to the heart of what it was that was causing me problems. For me, it's this concept of the elephant in the room, and we all have one. And we sometimes, it's too scared to look at it or identify what it is. And if it feels uncomfortable, that's probably because it's important. And as much as we don't, oh, sorry. Hello.
Sorry, Matt. Should we try it without video for a few minutes and just see if that improves the quality? Is that okay? Okay, sorry, go ahead. So the elephant in the room that we all have.
Yes. I feel that if it's uncomfortable, then it's probably because it's important. And I had to address those things through counselling, and I ended up writing it all down, and that's what started this whole process for me. And because it's had such a profound impact on my life, I feel that I would like to train to do that and to support other people through that process. Now, the kind of counselling that I'm doing is person-centered, which it's not like a hierarchical thing like the old style of counselling where people would just go along to a professional and say, "Fix me." It might sound cheesy, but that the style that I'm going into, the client has the answers inside themselves, and that's why I was able to grow. It was I knew deep down what I needed to do. I just needed someone to help me see that, and that's massive. So yes, I'm on a course at the moment, graduate skills, and then hopefully, who knows when, but I'll start the master's scheduled to start in September. So we shall see. But if I do the full masters, we're talking 3 years, and I'll be, I'll have a masters, or I could do 2 years and be a qualified counsellor and just leave it at that. But I hope to give back, provide some kind of funded counselling for people who can't afford it, because access to talking therapy is limited and the waiting lists are long. So I have a social responsibility to try and get more people in, and men aren't going, as a group, as a demographic, are the most at risk. Talking about suicide rates, and we're looking at getting people to come to therapy that have never even considered therapy before. So it's not like we're taking business away from other therapists. I also, as I know yourself, you're doing it. We do need more male therapists, and also I think that we need more people in therapy that have had lived experiences of mental health. All these things will help diversify the profession and open it up to a wider audience.
Yeah, couldn't have put it better myself. And yeah, do you want to turn your camera back on, Mike? Because I don't think it makes a lot of difference, but it's just a bit weird speaking to an icon. But yeah, very good. Thank you. Great tips there. And I totally agree around normalising counselling and psychotherapy, letting it into the mindset of males in particular, and also as an early intervention. As soon as someone realises, actually, I've got a little elephant, or maybe it's a big elephant, I'm not waiting for crisis and then having to get onto those sometimes quite long NHS waiting lists for ET. So yeah, great stuff. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so before we come to a close, is there anything else that you want to bring? Anything important that we haven't talked about? Anything?
I mean, I think that we've covered it all. I'll let you finish off. I'm sure I'll plug everything at the end. I know.
Go ahead now. So where can people find out about Talk About It Mate and all the other support you offer?
Yeah, on all social media, you'll find us at Talk About It Mate. Also on Facebook, when we do have the closed Facebook group called the Talk Space, which is kind of, it's quite light and friendly. It's nothing too heavy, but it's just an area where people can, like, I'm trying to put challenges on there, and just ways for people to check in and connect. We also have like closed WhatsApp groups for people who've already attended meetings and things like that, so that members can connect. But you can also find us on our website at talkaboutitmate.co.uk, and the links to all of our events are normally found on Meetup. So if we're using Zoom, I'll post a link on Meetup because it's more secure than putting it on an open forum. Because I know there's been some problems with Zoom. So for men, our online, I'll slow down there. Our online men's peer support group is every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. We had 17 last week, so I think we're going to be splitting into two groups very, very soon. Probably not this week, but maybe the week after. And on Saturdays, we're doing a little variety hour, which is called the Weekend Waffle. So we've had quizzes, and someone did a song on his guitar yesterday, and just a bit of everything, and that's open for everyone, men, women, dogs, whatever. So yeah, you can find Talk About It Mate, and I think hopefully what comes across is it's a kind of community for everyone. There's lots of different people in there, and it's a friendly place where you can connect. So thank you.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, so it is wonderful, and I do highly encourage anyone to have a look at Talk About It Mate and join the Weekend Waffle. I enjoyed the quiz last weekend. That was good fun. Yeah. And it's that connection, really important. And I like the way that you've got the WhatsApp groups, you've got everything there for people to be able to just talk about how they're feeling. The Facebook page there, people can post on there, actually today, I'm not feeling great. And they will get support from other people, or just validation from other people. So it's lovely that you've got all these different channels, especially during the lockdown. You're doing great work, Mike. So on behalf of the whole community, thank you for what you do.
Hey, that's what we're here for. We all help each other, and it's great for example, for me to know someone like yourself, Paul. Big shout out to what you're doing with your Thrive Hive, because I think what you can do and what I probably can't is you can get a lot more professional people in one place as well. So if someone comes to me and says, "Oh, I'm looking for a certain kind of support," I can then pass them on. So, like, think of me, and I'd like to say to people in your community, think of me as like a conduit, like the general public, or whatever, will come to somebody like me, and I can be like, well, I'm an expert on yoga, but I've tried yoga, and I know a yoga teacher, or I know someone who does sound therapy. I know it's that, like, I'll give these things a go, of course, but it can push people in each other's directions. And I think that the more integration there is, the more people will be able to help.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's all about the networking. I'm getting there. I'm learning from you about this networking, Gubbins. So we're getting there. And like you say, the more people we can connect with, the more support there is out there, the broader the reach is going to be for all the people who are suffering through this crisis and beyond with day-to-day mental health issues, holistic well-being issues.
Yeah, that's it. And if people want to get involved in anything at all they've got to do is make a suggestion, and we try to accommodate. And so the last week, I've had a couple of people mention to me, like, we've got a men's group, why can't we have a women's group? And really, there's no reason why we can't. It's just getting people who are interested. And, yes, I've received funding to do a men's group, but if people are interested in running a women's group, it'd be great to get a yoga teacher in a women's group and a meditation teacher in a women's group, and then just some people who aren't, so you've got a network of people who help each other out. It's only be a good thing.
Yes, and this is the common humanity, isn't it? We all are kind and compassionate beings, I believe, and this is very much coming to the fore during this crisis. And even before that, you've been doing this for quite some time now, and hats off to all you're doing. So thank you for that, and thank you for your time and your benefit of your expertise and your experience and your vulnerability in this space today, Mike.
Thanks very much, Paul. Absolute pleasure, and keep in touch.
Will do. All right. Thank you, Mike. See you soon. Lovely. What a lovely man, and what a great job he does. So talk about it, mate. That's where you can find out more. Do get involved, and if you're after starting up or joining a women's peer support group, then get in touch with Mike. We'll be looking for some volunteers to facilitate or just get involved in that, I'm sure, because he's not qualified, because he's not a lady. Okay, so what else do I need to talk about today? I don't need to talk about anything, but what I want to talk about is tomorrow we have a special guest on the Thrive Hive, Simon Carrigan, very inspiring character who has his own personal story to tell about how he uses creativity in recovery from his addiction and mental health issues. So he is an artist in the true sense of the word, in a holistic sense of the word. He does art, he does music, he does poetry. He's a very creative man, and he'll be sharing with us how we can use creativity ourselves to build resilience, to express ourselves, our vulnerability, our mental health issues, and our feelings. So join us for that tomorrow, 6:30 on one of these Facebook Live Gubbins. And I'm going to go and collect my cherubims, and I'm very excited about it. So before I do so, I'm going to leave you with a song from Dave Cummins. You can check him out on davecummins.music. That's his Facebook page. He's also on SoundCloud, but I don't think he maintains that as much as the Facebook page. And this is a song that he wrote for his daughter. And I find it very touching. It gives me a lump in my throat and makes me wish that I'd written a song for my daughter before he did for his daughter. But hey, anyway, it's all good, and I hope you enjoy this tune. There we go. Share audio, and where's the song gone now? Oh. There it is.
I smile at photographs of you when you were young. I swell with pride at cups and prizes you have won. We've shared so many days together, having fun. I've loved being your dad. We had so many years when it was just we two, and I did my best at all the things I had to do. You made me proud enough to try to write this song. I've loved being your dad. I can't imagine life without you here with me, although I know you'll have to make your own. And when you need a helping hand, right here I'll be. You'll never need to feel you're all alone. I've tried my best to make you ready for the world, for I know you'll soon become a woman, not a girl. And I'll love you always, you'll forever be my only one. I've loved being your dad. And I hope in the future, when you think of me, when I become a star up in the sky, you'll look upon our time together happily. Then in your heart I know I'll never die. I don't know what the future holds for you, but I'm sure you'll always do the best that you can do. Well, I'm here forever, no matter what you need. I'll always be your dad.
Ah, lovely. Lump in the throat. Yeah, being a dad, best job in the world. Unless you're a mum, you might think that's the best job in the world. Maybe they're equal first. Wonderful. So, yeah, thanks for joining us today, whether you're here live or whether you are watching back later, having possibly had a lie-in on this beautiful Sunday morning. So, yeah, men's peer support, wonderful stuff. Women's peer support on the way from Talk About It, Mate. Check out them on Facebook or anywhere else. And yeah, hopefully see you tomorrow at 6:30 with Simon Carrigan to talk about creativity and how that's helped him in his recovery from mental health and addiction issues. So have a lovely Sunday, enjoy, have a rest, and see you tomorrow. Take care.